Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonia, aka Sonia Blade. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. And if you are returning, well, welcome back. Sorry, people they're like texting me right now. Today's video 2, pretty much a follow-up of video 1. As you can see in the description box below, I am following the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. I've been really watching the live court cases and kind of just going through the evidence and going through what I'm learning about the case and just kind of picking it apart. I've already explained it in my first video, so if you are new and you haven't watched my first video that I've already dropped, I've already explained, so I'm not going to re-explain why I'm doing these videos. I just kind of want to go ahead and jump right in. This case is going to be a long case. They said this is going to be for the next few weeks, so I don't want to try to stuff as much information as I can into one video because there's just so much. There's just so much that's going on with this case. It's like one thing after the next, and it's a lot of information. But I have explained it before that I am comparing my own domestic violence relationship that I was in. I am comparing it and kind of breaking things down for everybody to just point things out. If you haven't been in this type of situation, it's really hard to pinpoint stuff. I mean, everybody can give their own opinion, and I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers that are out there giving their own opinion, talking about body language, things like that. But I think when you really go through it, it's a lot easier for people like us, the victims, to be able to pick apart this stuff. So I want to start picking it apart, and so that's what we're doing today. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. I've been taking lots of notes. Most abusers have some kind of violence in their past. It is true. It is true. You know, I thought it was funny because they're going to be calling Winona Ryder, which is, Depp's ex-wife, and then his baby mama, Vanessa Paradis. They're going to be calling those two to the stand. Those were his ex-partners. So if anybody knows anybody, especially Vanessa Paradis, she said she known him, for 14 years. She has lots of history with, Depp. So I feel like she's a great witness. And they have 2 children together. So she could tell you if he was a violent partner or not. And apparently she's coming forward saying that he wasn't. He was never a violent partner towards her in any way, shape, or form, that he was gentle and respectful. And I've heard this from so many people that are testifying on his behalf. And even Winona Ryder stepping forward, and she's saying that that's not the Johnny she was married to, that they never had any, he was not like that with her either. So for me, of course, that stood out because he has his own 2 exes that are taking up for him. I don't think especially the mother of his children would lie. You wouldn't want to lie about your ex, especially when you're raising children with them, because if my ex was violent, I wouldn't want him around my own children. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. That was the first, when I read it, I was just like, oh shit, like, of course it's relatable for me. But on Amber Heard's side, I brought it up in the first video, she has a domestic violence record already. She abused her last girlfriend, the girl that she was with last time. And I already, talked about it. So for me, that kind of stood out because it is true. It is very true. When I was with my ex, we've already codenamed him Ivan. And I've already released a video on it. So I'm just kind of retouching on some things. If you are new, I've talked about my abusive relationship. So, Ivan's ex-baby mama, he had a baby mama before me, and she claimed that he beat her up. Now, of course, I didn't believe her because I'm the new girlfriend. She didn't like me. I just figured that she was just being that way. She was just being shitty. She was just trying to talk shit about him. So I didn't even listen to her when she told me anything. And then, of course, it turned out to be true, even though it took him a while to come out as an abusive person. There were red flags. There were things that I should have been paying attention. And so I didn't. So when we broke up, when me and him finally broke up, officially, he had a girlfriend after me. He had baby mama number 3. And I remember she would always be like, oh, I don't want you talking to him. She was that one. Like, oh, I don't want you talking to him when you're calling. I'm like, we have a child together. And she's like, oh, well, you need to, go through me. I'm like, I didn't have a child with you. I had a child with him. But upon seeing her, I mean, I never had an issue with her. She always had an issue with me. But upon seeing her, I remember when I started seeing her after a while, she started dropping weight. She started having bruises on her face. She started looking kind of, it was just a very familiar look. And I remember I approached her and I told her, I said, I know that he abuses you. I know that he probably has you strung out on drugs. I already know this. I've been there, done that. Don't think that I want him back, because that just goes to show that he hasn't changed. History was just there. It was there. And so, like I said, he abused all of us. He abused the girl before me, and then the girl after. So it was never going to change. So that's why when I heard about it, and I was just like, I wonder if anybody else has claimed, anybody he's dated. And sure enough, baby mama and ex-wife come together and say, no, that's not true. So that's something that I feel like is was a big red flag, was just kind of something that stood out to me. And I'm just like, okay, I feel like that does show to character. These people don't just become abusive towards one person and we're never abusive to anybody else. It's usually in their character. It's how they are. They're narcissists. And so they are these controlling, they're insecure people themselves. The majority of these people, they're insecure. So they have to have control over the situation, and they have to portray themselves as a dominant partner and keep their partner low because they have their own insecurities. So that was something that stood out. So it brings me to the second thing that I noticed is that those people also have violence, not just with their partners, but they just have violence within the people that are close to them. Now, if the sister would have came out, because the sister testified on Johnny Depp's behalf, saying that, oh, he was violent as a child and he grew up to, fight and stuff like that. I feel like that also, again, like a lot of these abusers are categorized. They are. They have all the same demeanors, characteristics, traits, personalities. And so you can profile them very easily. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it is about 95%. And so that was something that I saw right away. I was paying attention, like I said, to the sister talking about Johnny. Everybody has been describing him the same way, that he's respectful, that he's nice, that he's a gentleman, that yes, he's kind of quirky and he speaks funny, but he explains why he's like that. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being weird. It doesn't make you an abuser. So one of my first red flags in my relationship that I noticed was again, I had never been in an abusive relationship. I had never been with anybody who even came close to abusing me. So I didn't know what to look for. I was 22 years old. I was young. I was naive. I was kind of like a lot of people, like, this is never going to happen to me. And I never thought it would happen to me. How could I have guessed that? So I remember one time, and I've thought about it over and over and over again, but I remember when I first started dating Ivan, and I remember I went over to his house one time, and he lived with his mom and his sister. And so I went over there one time. I came to visit, and his sister, I really didn't know her at that time, and so she was walking. I had walked in and she was walking out the door, so we passed each other very closely, and she was crying, and her face looked bad. It looked like exactly what happened. It looked like she got her ass beat. Like, she looked bad. Like, her face was really fucked up. And I remember I was just like, oh shit. And I was like, are you okay? And she wouldn't even speak to me. She wouldn't even look at me. She just left. And then I asked Ivan, because he was sitting there, I was like, so what happened to your sister? What he said, I was not expecting. I thought maybe she got into a fight with a girl and she got her ass whooped or something. Because she did have a girlfriend. And they were together for a really long time. And so he was like, oh, she's a drug addict. She's a drug addict, and, I had to do what I had to do to sustain her. And I remember I was really shocked because he was very casual with it. Just really casual, very nonchalant, like I should know, like, duh, like, you know what I mean? And he had that kind of attitude. And I just remember pausing because the girl was my size. The girl was like 4'11". she was even skinnier than me at the time. I used to be skinny. I used to be skinny one time. But yeah, she was even skinnier than me. I mean, I think I weighed like 115. She was like 105. She was so tiny. And so I'm just like looking at, like, envisioning her and envisioning him, because he's like 5'10", like this broad shouldered, like manly, burly man. And I'm just like, did it take all that to, I mean, I was just like, well, I remember saying to him, like, did it take you to do that to her face? And I remember he got so offended. He was so offended and he was so upset because he's like, you don't know, she's a drug addict, which she was a drug addict, but I didn't know they were all drug addicts. But he was like, you don't know, she's a drug addict. You don't know what it's like to be with a drug addict. He was like, she was all high on heroin and she locked herself in the closet and was screaming and acting stupid. He made it sound like she was just like over the top, trying to hurt herself, and he had to restrain her and calm her down. But I'm like, that's one thing. It didn't look like you restrained her. It looked like you beat the fuck out of her. And he got mad and he told me I should leave. So I was like, okay. So I did, and I ended up apologizing to him because I started thinking, like, he's right. I don't live with a drug addict. I don't know what it's like to be around a drug addict like that. Like, what if she was trying to hurt him? Like, I don't know. I did feel bad because he did seem genuinely upset. But that's how these people are. They deflect and make excuses for their actions. And so, but I remember, I will never forget that, because that alone should have told me that he could be violent towards a girl. But again, I just took it as for what he told me. I didn't know any better. Moving forward, as I started to progress with my relationship with Ivan, he was very violent in general. Just a violent person. If we go out somewhere, he would fight somebody. He will fight you. Like, he doesn't care. He was very arrogant. He was very, he was just very like, ain't nobody gonna fuck with me. Because he could squab. I mean, I've seen him. I saw him got jumped by 3 guys and they had weapons and he still won. And so, I mean, he definitely could throw down, but again, like, how was I supposed to know that he was going to be like that with me? I'm a girl. I'm supposed to be somebody he loves. So there are patterns of these people, especially when they're close, when they're very close. Which brings me to the next thing that I wanted to point out. Of all this time that she's claiming that she's been abused by him, and she even gives, specific times and dates. Nobody has come forward. Not one person has come forward and said that they have seen him be violent towards her. Now, they've claimed that they've seen them arguing, and I've stated this before in my last video, and I'll say it again. Yes, I do feel like they both have issues. Yes, I did feel like they have a toxic relationship. But that doesn't make him an abusive person because he's the man. There was so many people within our household, because we lived with his family, that they saw it. I even described in my video talking about the first time Ivan ever struck me, the house was filled with witnesses. My own 2 daughters, his mother, his sister, and my own brother. So there were people close to us that we lived with that were around us all the time that saw him be physical with me. They saw it. They knew it. Nobody helped me. Nobody stood up for me. The only time I feel like his mom ever got upset was I was pregnant and he gave me a black eye and I had to wear sunglasses, and she was upset because, well, I was pregnant. And so she told him, you can't be hitting on her. She's pregnant. Not, you can't be hitting on her because you can't be hitting on her. And that's not what she was arguing. Her thing was, you can't be hitting on her because she's pregnant. I mean, you shouldn't be hitting on me, period, whether I'm pregnant or not. So again, like, there was witnesses around us. There was people that saw it. There's people that knew that it was going on. My own family knew that there was something going on, and I denied it. I mean, I would just lie and say no because I was humiliated. I didn't want to admit it at that time. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to admit it. I was having to go through it. I was living it. I didn't want to fucking sit here and be discussing it with people because I was always going to get the same reaction. So, again, why is if he supposedly, abused her, how come at least not one person is coming forward? One. He had people around him, security, housekeeping. I mean, everybody. There was so many people always around him because of him being a celebrity. How come not one person can come forward and say that they saw him be abusive? They said they saw, the fighting, they saw the arguing, they saw maybe things, being thrown, destruction of property, but nobody actually saw him hit her. But then again, nobody even saw her. Nobody saw what she did. And he claims that she hit him all the time. So that was another thing that stood out to me. Was, okay, if he hit you, then give me one witness. Somebody. A fucking cleaning lady. Maria. The biggest thing, the most fascinating thing of this case. This is a big one for me. Because I was just thinking about like I said, I'm relating it to me. I'm not saying that it's like our relationships are the same, because they're not. This is like the biggest red flag for me that stands out that I wanted to point out. And I've even read comments of domestic violence survivors, and they said the same thing, and I knew that it was something that I thought, so I knew that we all could see the same. Just to see that this was odd of a victim, okay? The documentation. She has pictures of him like passed out, and she's saying, oh, well, he's, drunk, or he's fucked up, he's high, or whatever, and so much documentation. There's a video that came out where she walks into the kitchen and he's like slamming cabinets, and he's obviously he's upset. Obviously, you don't know what's really going on, but he's obviously upset. He's mumbling to himself. He pours himself a drink, and she starts recording, and you could hear it in her voice. She's like, "Oh, what happened? All I said was sorry." And he's upset, and they're not really explaining the situation, so there had to be a conversation before this was being recorded. And then he gets mad because he sees that she's recording, and he grabs the phone, and it's somewhere along the way he drops the phone, and then she picks it up, and she's laughing and she's smirking, and then the video cuts off. So this is what that shit says to me, because seeing the video at first glance, yes, you can see that something's wrong with him, okay? But why are you recording it? And why you have pictures of him passed out? He says he was passed out because he had a long day. He admitted that he took a Oxycontin because that's what his drug of choice was. And then he was tired. He's like, the ice cream that was melted, I think it was like a picture of him like passed out on the sofa, and there's like an ice cream melted in his lap. He was like, my hands are in my pockets. Like, that wasn't even my ice cream. She put that ice cream in my lap and then took that photo after I passed out. Okay, so here's my point. When I was going through my abuse, I was not fucking trying to document my ex passed out or record him while he was upset. Well, you know why? Because I was too afraid. This person, abusers are controlling, very controlling. If I went to Walmart, I had to take a photo of something close by to show that I was at Walmart, to prove that I was at Walmart within that time and day, like a newspaper article or something, or a magazine that had the date or whatever. Yes, it was that bad. It got that bad. He didn't let me drive my own car. He had to drop me off at work and pick me up, because he even didn't let me work with certain people because he was jealous. If there was guys that worked there, I couldn't work there. He went through my phone. He read my text messages, looked at my photos, looked at my internet history. I mean, the last thing I would fucking do is try to make the situation worse. And for a real victim, you're not taunting your abuser. You're not taunting him. I didn't play the psychological mind games. That was him who played the psychological mind games. I didn't. I'm not trying to videotape him for shit, because guess what he would do? He would probably beat me up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to take a photo of him passed out, because he's going to go through my phone and he would see that. And what is that building? That's building evidence, because maybe later on I want to use it against him. That alone speaks volumes, because a victim does not act like that. We're too afraid. We're too fucking afraid. There's too much going on within our household to even think about that. That never even crossed my mind to have documentation of this. The only thing we had documentation of was police reports, because I did call the police on him. Police were called on us a few times, for being loud. But, I mean, and yes, I would deny it, when the police would show up, because, again, that's just how victims are. We have that trauma bonding where we want to take up for our abuser. And so I didn't want him to get in trouble, because then he's going to get in trouble, and then he's going to come out because he's pissed off because he got locked up. And then I'm going to have to take the brunt of that. I'm not doing all that. That's one of the reasons why we don't tell. So, again, for her to have this stuff and to be, all it does is make her look bad. And when I watched the video, I didn't even catch the smirk and the laugh at the end. I saw a comment on that, and then I went back and watched the video again. And then I just kept watching the video over and over, breaking it down from the very moment that it started. So you obviously see that he's upset. You obviously see that he's in distress. So I felt like she was setting it up to make him look worse than what he really was. Even today, I was talking about this. The photographs of when they were in Australia, and he hit the tip of his finger. He says that she hit him with a bottle, and then apparently they destroyed this house. They demolished this house. They trashed it, and there was writing all over the walls and lampshades. And he admitted that he wrote some of that stuff, but then he turned around and said, "But some of that stuff I didn't write." So I felt like she took that situation. She took advantage of that situation and wanted to make him look worse than what he was. So she goes later on and adds writing to it, and then takes pictures and has pictures. And then, of course, I don't know. Again, I'm not doing that. I'm not going around taking pictures of shit. And I'm certainly not trying to add more fuel to the fire, because then he's going to come back and he's going to take that out on me. So she didn't act like a scared victim as much as she wanted to portray that she was. It just does not scream domestic violence survivor. I'm sorry, Amber Heard. You're a fucking liar. I had to live with this dark, violent, crazy person. And it was so hard for me to live with, and then have to survive it, and then psychologically live with the rest of it for the rest of my life. I still struggle to this day with it. So for someone to come forward and make a claim and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a victim and I suffered," it upsets me. It upsets me. You are lying. You are lying. And for us who have really gone through this, yes, it is very offensive. You are trying to make yourself look good. Bitch, I'm not trying to make myself look good by telling my story. It took me 10 years to get this story out. How dare her? She should be ashamed of herself. To try to use other victim stories and to try to, reach out to us? We're going to see right through that shit. We're going to see right through it, because we've survived it. We've lived it. And as soon as I start hearing things, I'm just like, okay, I have to point this stuff out, because it's just not true. It just doesn't add up. So, fuck you, Amber Heard. I don't like her. But anyway, I'm not going to make this video too long tonight because there's just so much more. There's so much more stuff that I want to talk about. I've already, again, I'm writing stuff down for everybody. I'm picking things apart. There's just still so much more stuff that I'm hearing that I'm just like, that's bullshit. So as the trial goes on, I'm going to continue to release videos. I'm going to continue to talk about it. So that way, I can let y'all know. I've been here. I've actually been here. So she's lying. She's full of shit. She's lying. And I don't appreciate her. I don't appreciate her claiming to be my sister in the DM world. I don't. But that being said, thank you for sticking with me, guys. I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Go ahead and drop comments below. What do you think of the video? How is this helping towards you, especially if you're a DM survivor? Again, I'm here for you. Let's stick together. Let's get this bitch out of our group because she don't belong. She don't belong here. You can't sit with us. Okay? So I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the little notification bell so you know when I drop my videos. Until then, don't forget to love yourself because you are all you have. Thanks. So I dance trying to fuck you, baby. Hopefully we don't have no babies. I don't even wanna go back home.